Black Politics, Chapter 21, read by Author Rashida Brown. As usual, forgive me if I messed up. So let's get into Chapter 21. You ready? Adara asked, holding Sean's hand. Yes, ma'am, Sean said, looking at the crowd of people standing outside of the court. Don't worry, all those people are here to support you, Adara said. A mixed group of over 200 people stood outside the courtroom, holding all kinds of signs. Some had the t-shirts Adara had made on, and others wore all black. Adara's team was standing in front of the crowd. Let's do this, Adara said, exiting the vehicle. She and Ahmad picked up Miss Jones and Sean to do a last-minute prepping on the way to court. As they got out of the car and walked through the crowd, people cheered on Sean as he walked towards the door. Justice for Sean, Adara yelled out, raising her fist in the air before entering the building. Justice for Sean, voices from the crowd yelled out. A few of Sean's family and Adara's prominent team members entered the courtroom with them. The rest of the people stood outside silently while the first day of trial began. All rise. The court is now in session. The Honorable Judge Matthews will be handling this case, the bailiff announced. The judge entered the room and took his seat. You may all be seated, Judge Matthews said. Everyone in the room took their seats. The bailiff announced the case number, the plaintiff, and the defendant. Good morning, Judge Matthews said, looking around the room. Morning, some of the people in the room responded. Are you both ready to begin with your opening statements? Judge Matthews asked. Ahmad and Adam Hawkins, Caleb's lawyer, both confirmed that they were ready to start. Then Ahmad walked over to the jury, looking them all in their eyes. Good morning, everyone. I'm sure you all have a general idea of what's going on with Sean's case. You either heard about it on the internet, news, or from somebody. You may have even seen the leaked video of what happened that night. Ahmad began his statement, pacing the floor. I assure you that it goes deeper than that, and you will see that as this trial plays out. Not only will you see that my client was not at fault for what happened to him, but also you will see how the officers involved in the whole department played a part in covering up what happened. Sean was no threat to these officers. He was just a black boy who happened to cross their path that day. You will see that this department is full of corruption, and my client isn't the first person they did this to, and unfortunately, it won't be the last. My client deserves justice for what happened to him, and I hope you do right by him. Ahmad closed out, walking back to his seat. Mr. Hawkins walked up to the jury. Now, I would be wrong if I didn't say that what happened to Sean Jones was wrong. It's a regrettable situation, and the officers know that. These officers have families that they have to make it home to at the end of the day. Every day that they go out on the field to protect us, our homes, our families, is a chance that they may lose their lives trying to save ours. I can only imagine the type of pressure they must be under every day. They won't have time to think if a threat is real or not, and that's uncomfortable. They don't have time to think if a threat is real or not, and that's unfortunate. But you will see that the officer in the department have been cooperative this whole time. Not only did they volunteer to resign, but they volunteered to answer questions and give out information that they did not have to. A mistake was made, and they acknowledge that. But does that mean their lives should be destroyed because they misread the situation? Mr. Hawkins stated, walking back to his seat. Miss Jones looked over at Adara. Misread the situation. Really? Miss Jones whispered. Remember what we talked about, Adara said, grabbing Miss Jones' hands. The courtroom grew quiet as the first witness was called to the stand. The plaintiff called Sharonda Higgins to the stand. After Miss Higgins was sworn in, Ahmad approached the stand. Good morning, Miss Higgins. How are you today? Ahmad greeted her. I'm doing well, thanks for asking, Sharonda replied. Ahmad nodded his head. You could tell by Sharonda's posture that she was nervous, by the way her eyes examined the room and the way she fiddled with her hands. She tried hard not to look over at Caleb as Ahmad questioned her. Miss Hickens, can you tell us about your encounter with the officer in question? Ahmad asked. Sharonda looked over at Caleb and quickly turned her attention back to Ahmad. Yes, I was on my way to work that morning, and as usual, I stopped by McDonald's to get breakfast before work. I usually eat in the car, but it was cold that day, so I decided to eat inside. And did you notice anything unusual about that day? Ahmad asked. Not really. I just sat down to eat my food, and he was just staring at me, Sharonda recounted. Can you point to the man whom you were talking about? Ahmad asked. Him right there, Sharonda said, pointing over at Caleb. Caleb rolled his eyes and turned his head, looking forward. Let the record show that the witness is talking about Officer Caleb, Ahmad said. So can you tell us what happened next? Ahmad asked. Sharonda nodded her head and continued to speak. Like I was saying, when I went to sit down, he was staring at me. So I smiled at him, but he didn't smile back. He just kept looking at me. So I just did not pay him any attention and finished my food. I felt uncomfortable, so I got out of there as quickly as I could. As I was walking to my car, that's when I noticed him walking closely behind me. Can you tell us how he was walking towards you? Ahmad asked. Like he was about to attack me. He stormed out of the restaurant behind me, Sharonda said. Then what happened? Ahmad asked. I turned around and asked, was there a problem? Then he just came for me, slamming me up against my car. That's when I started to fight back. Did he ever mention that he was an officer, or did he ever tell you why he was doing what he was? Ahmad questioned. No, he didn't. It wasn't until people came out of the restaurant to try and help me that he mentioned it. He told them that this was police business and instructed them to go back inside. That's when I was arrested, Sharonda said, holding her head down. But you pressed charges, right? Ahmad asked. Yes, I did, and nothing happened. He just got away with what he did, Sharonda said, looking over at Caleb. Can you tell us what happened to you after the incident? Ahmad asked. I was tied up with court costs. I lost my job and my home. I couldn't afford to pay the court costs and to catch up on rent since my job fired me, Sharonda said. Did the court ever review the recording of what happened that day? Ahmad asked. No, all I know is they said it was lost. But before that, the manager told my lawyer that they had it. Somehow it magically disappeared, Sharonda said. No further questions, Your Honor. I would like to present the recording of the incident. It might have been deleted from the restaurant, but headquarters has a copy of all recordings. As you will see in this video, the witness did nothing wrong, Ahmad stated. Caleb leaned over to whisper in his lawyer's ear. Why didn't you tell me they had the tape? Caleb hissed. Don't worry about it. I got it under control, Hawkins assured him. After the video was played, some of the juries had a disgusted look on their face. Hawkins approached Sharonda. Miss Hickens, is it safe to say you visit the restaurant often? Hawkins said. Yes, it is, Sharonda replied. Have you ever seen my client in there before? Hawkins asked. It's possible we could have been in there at the same time before, but as I stated, I hardly eat inside, so I don't pay attention to what everyone else is doing. I just try to enjoy my breakfast before work, Sharonda said. I see. So you're sure you never saw my client in there before, Hawkins said. Not that I remember, Sharonda said. You see, I find that hard to believe because, like you, my client eats there in there all the time, and since he has been seen in there many times in his uniform. In fact, this was not the first encounter you had with him, is it? Hawkins asked. I don't know what you're talking about, Sharonda said, looking over at Ahmad. 3 months before this incident, my client ran into a problem with you. Do you remember having any problem with any officer at this establishment? Hawkins asked. Sharonda closed her eyes and inhaled deeply, letting out a loud breath. Yes, I did, but I don't remember the officer's face, Sharonda said. Is it true that you had a problem with management about your food and you were loud that day? That is when an officer approached you and asked you to calm down. Then you turned to the officer and got loud with him. Hawkins said, Yes, I did, but it was not. And is it true that the officer let you go with a warning? Hawkins pressed on. Yes, Sharon answered. So you have seen my client before, and you did know he was an officer? Hawkins asked. No, as I said, I do not remember his face. It was 3 months before what happened, and he was not in his uniform, so I was not paying attention to him until he came behind me and attacked me, Sharonda said. Do you have a problem remembering faces? Hawkins asked. Objection, Ahmad called out. Sustained, Judge Matthews said. Miss Hickens, how is it possible that you can't remember Officer Caleb's face from the first incident, but you can now? Hawkins questioned. Because I'll never forget what he did to me, Sharonda answered. No further questions, Your Honor, Hawkins said, taking his seat while Sharonda came down from the stand. They go several rounds questioning several witnesses. Finally, Ahmad called Adara and some of the other team members to the stand to share all the information they had regarding the case. Adara shared the threats that were made to her by Miss Carroll and how she was wrongly terminated from their contract. Adara also provided proof of how Miss Carroll tried to make her force Miss Jones to sign the contract and even showed the video of Miss Carroll threatening her when she came to her office. The defense team called several witnesses to the stand to humiliate and paint Sean's negative image to the jury. Having kids from Sean's school, Ashley and her friends share stories about him. For example, Ashley got on the stand and told the court how she approached Sean when he came back to school and how he was cruel to her and expressed his hate for cops, especially her father, and how he hated white people, as she put it. Ahmad also had Sean's friends record a video telling their account of what happened that day. There was so much tension in that room that the judge called a break until the next day. Don't worry what they say about you. Don't worry what they say about you. We know what happened, and your story will be heard. You will get a chance to take the stand, and when you do, make sure you tell your story your way, Adara said, hugging Sean. I will see you in the morning, Adara said, closing the car door on Sean's side. The team headed back to the office to go over the first day of trial, looking over anything they may have missed. How can I talk to y'all? Hey, can I talk to y'all alone for a minute? Rosa asked Adara, Amina, and Akita. They all walked towards the conference room, and Amina shut the door behind her. What's going on? Adara asked. Remember when I told y'all I was going to leave my husband? Rosa said, holding her head down. Yeah, what's going on? Adara asked. Are you in danger? Akita asked anxiously. Rosa stood to her feet, turning her back to the ladies. She raised her shirt. Oh my gosh, Adara cried. All the ladies jumped to their feet, rushing over to Rosa. When did this happen? Amina asked, looking closely at all the whip marks on Rosa's back. Last night when I came home from passing out flyers, he does not want me working here anymore, and he got irritated that I didn't have dinner done by the time he got home. He says this organization is taking too much of my time and that I don't have time to care for the things that he needs me to. Rosa sighed, sitting down. That's crazy. Does he honestly think he controls your life? Akita asked, sitting next to Rosa. I have to get away, and it has to be tonight. Is staying at your place still an option? I understand if it's not. I have a lot going on, and I don't want to bring any of my drama to your house, Rosa said. Akita grabbed Rosa's hand. I told you, I got you. You're more than welcome to come, Akita assured her. Just tell us what you need from us. I need to leave tonight. My mom picked up the boys today. They will be going out of town with them for 2 weeks, so that gives me time to leave. He hasn't been staying at home at night, and I would like to escape tonight while he's gone, Rosa said. Okay, well, I could get Abaddon to bring his truck over to help load anything you need with a couple of the guys, if that's okay, Adara offered. Yes, that's fine. I already have a storage unit, so we can throw the things I'm keeping in there tonight, Rosa said. Great. Just text me the address and let us know when you're ready. They finished looking over notes and evidence for court tomorrow, and then they all headed home. Adar brought Abaddon up to speed on Rosa's situation, and he agreed to help. They all met over at Adara's house, waiting for Rosa to text or call. Mary brought in leftovers from the catering event they had today for everyone to eat. They passed the time playing Uno and socializing with each other. It's about 8 o'clock when Rosa finally called, telling them to come over. They took Mike's and Abaddon's truck over. Akita and Amina rode together. I sure hope this goes smooth, Amina said, backing out. Me too, Akita replied. They all drove over to Rosa's house, following behind each other. As they pulled into the driveway, they see Rosa standing on the porch signaling them. Abaddon and Mike backed their trucks up in the driveway as Amina pulled up to the front of the house. Hey, girls, just tell us what you need us to do, and we got it from there, Adara said. I appreciate this so much, guys. I broke my kids' bed down in mine, so all the stuff I'm taking is in bags in the living room and bedroom. Everything else is staying, Rosa said, leading everyone in. Everyone worked hard loading Everyone worked hard loading Mike's and Abaddon's truck with furniture. Next, Rosa and Amina cars were loaded with bags. As after they finished loading the vehicles, Rosa locked up and they headed over to the storage. After everything is loaded into the storehouse, Rosa thanked everybody and they left. Akita rode with Rosa since she was going to her house. I just need to stop by my bank, Rosa said. Go ahead, handle your business. Abigail is staying with my mom until the trial is over, Akita said. How's everything going on your end? Rosa asked. I'm doing good. I have been going to see Antoine, Kevin's killer, and working with him. I know it sounds crazy, but I do believe in second chances. And I think people like him need to know that. Think about how many lives can be changed when they feel loved and forgiven. I don't know how I could live knowing something like that was hanging over my shoulder, Akita said. I agree, Rosa said, pulling up to the bank. Rosa withdrew 5,000 out of her account. I know once he figures out I'm gone, he will close my account. I tried leaving before, and that was his way of trying to control me, Rosa said. Well, it's time to take back your life. Not just for you, but for your children. They deserve it too, Akita encouraged her friend. I know. You're right, Rosa agreed. The end of chapter 21.